Hello, happy Thursday. Welcome to Exercise with Exos. Coach Jazzy here, and I have a total body workout plan for us. So we're going to do 3 rounds. We're going to do 45, 15, and we're going to be doing standing upper body today. So I know we did a lot of push-ups yesterday. So we're going to go ahead and do standing upper body stuff. So we're going to go ahead real quick through some demos, and then we will get right into it. So starting off, we're going to do a bent over IYT. If doing the bent over position doesn't feel good on your back, you can always do it just standing here. But if we're doing the bent over, so we have our feet hip width apart, pushing our hips back, hands are forward, coming up into the I, and then the Y, and then our T. So looking more like I and then Y, and our T is straight out. Well, our hands are a little bit below our shoulders. And then after that, we're going to do a bent over W to L to overhead press. So what that is going to look like is our hands are again straight in front, same starting position. We're going to bring our elbows back, rotate them up, come forward into a press and down. I always say W first. It's really an L. So we're here, L, and then W, and then overhead press. So again, if bending over is not your thing, go ahead and do it more of a standing way instead. So that is our upper body stuff today. And then for the lower body, we are going to do a single leg Romanian deadlift into a knee drive. So I know we usually do reverse lunges, but today we're going to do a single leg RDL instead. So for this, we're going to have all of our weight on one of our feet. We're going to push our hips back. Leg is straight out behind us. And then we're going to exhale, driving our knee up. So it's a very powerful movement. So we're going to do all on one leg. So inhaling back, exhaling up, and then we'll go to the other leg. So if the balance is not there, you can, one, take your shoes off, or two, you can go ahead and do more of that kickstand. Similar to our staggered squats from yesterday, you're going to put your toe, try to make it so you can see my feet. You're going to have your toe in line with the arch of your other foot. And then from here, you push your hips back, push the ground away, and then come up. So it's more like this again. So your other leg is just there for support. You come up and then exhaling, bring your knee up. So that's that. And then for our more cardio portion of the workout, we're going to do 3 squat pulses to 1 squat jump. So what that's going to look like here, feet hip width apart. We're coming down 1, 2, 3. Now on the third one, we jump. So if jumping is not your thing today, you can do a full squat instead. If you are like me and you are not on the first floor or live in a house, if you don't want to disturb your neighbors, go ahead and do that full squat instead. You can also always alternate that as well. And then last but not least, we're going to do a lateral bound. So we're going to start on one side of our area. We're putting all of our weight into our hips, just like we were about to do our single leg RDL. We're going to then explode over, landing on our other foot and stabilizing. So we want to make sure that we are fully stabilized before we jump to the other side. So as you can tell, I don't have a whole lot of room here. So if you also don't have a lot of room, you don't have to jump that far, but the goal is to push off one leg, jump, and land on the other leg. So that is our circuit for today. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our warm-up, starting with the world's greatest stretch. So coming to the top of our space, we're going to interlace our fingers, grabbing onto one of our knees, pulling towards our chest. And we're going to exhale, step back into our reverse lunge. Hands coming down on the inside of our front foot. Back leg stays nice and straight. Nice big deep inhale. And exhaling, opening up towards the ceiling. Looking past our hands, thumb is facing behind us. And we're going to exhale, planting outside of our front foot. Bringing our back foot a little bit closer and pushing our hips up into our hamstring stretch. And we're going to go ahead and exhale. Bring our feet together. Push the ground away and stand on up. Perfect. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So we're interlacing our fingers, grabbing onto our other knee, pulling towards our chest. And we're gonna exhale, step back into our reverse lunge, hands coming down on the inside of our front foot. Back leg stays nice and straight. Nice big deep inhale. And exhaling, opening up towards the ceiling, looking past our hands. I'm just facing behind us. And we're gonna exhale, plant our hand outside of our front foot. Bring our back foot a little bit closer and push our hips up into our hamstring stretch. And when we're ready, we're gonna go ahead and exhale. Bring our feet together. Push your ground away and stand on up. Perfect. All right. I know we're not doing any planks, we're not doing any push-ups, we're doing nothing like that today in our workout, but we're gonna do some plank to pike so we can really open up our shoulders, our core. We'll get our core warmed up and then open up our calves. So making our way to the ground, hands and toes. When we're ready, we're gonna go ahead and push our hips up into our down dog position. So we're gonna start to pedal our heels here. Let's go ahead, push one heel into the ground. Exhale and switch. And switch again. You can always use your other foot to help your heel go down. And we're gonna switch one more time. And let's go ahead, push both our heels into the ground, poking our head in between our arms, opening up our back, our shoulders. And back to plank. Let's go ahead and do two quick ones here, coming up. And down. And last one coming up. And then from here, we're gonna go ahead and walk our hands towards our feet since we need to be standing today. And when we're ready, we're gonna go ahead and slowly roll up to our standing position. Head, neck, and shoulders are the last to come up. And we are ready to rock and roll. So we're starting off with bent over IYTs. We're doing 45, 15. And I'm gonna get the timer started here in 3, 2, 1, and go. So first off, our feet are hip width apart. We're pushing our hips slightly back. Hands are in front of us, thumbs are up. We come up to our I, and then our Y, and then our T. So for the T, our palms are facing our legs. We're driving up with our elbows and back down. So this first one with the I, we're gonna feel that more in the front of our shoulder and into the side. We wanna make sure as we raise up, we are keeping our armpits squeezed so our shoulders are away from our ears. We do not want to see this. We want to be here. Same thing with the Y. And if the bent over position, 3, 2, 1. Great. So if the bent over position doesn't feel good for that, feel free to stay standing. We are doing L to W to overhead press next. 3, 2, 1. So again, same position, feet hip width apart, core is engaged, sinking into our hips or pushing our hips back. Hands are facing our legs. We are coming up into our L, rotating up to the W. We're reaching above our head. We're coming back to our W, to the L, and back forward. So again, if bent over doesn't feel good, we're here. Same thing. So we're lifting our elbows up. That's going to activate our shoulders and our back. Rotating, it's going to strengthen our rotator cuffs, so then we're making that W. Reaching overhead, shoulders, and then back down. So again, if we're doing our bent over, we are here. 3, 2, 1. That's a little bit all-encompassing there for the movement. And then next up, we're going to do a single leg RDL into a knee drive. So picking which leg you want to start with. 3, 2, 1. So we are starting off. When we plant our foot, we're not standing straight up, we're sinking into our hips. So this is our starting position here. We're then pushing our hips back like we're closing the door. We are keeping our headlights on our hips, blinding the floor. You notice I'm not rotated, opened up. I'm closed off. Exhale, driving our knee up. So again, coming back. And it does really, really help if you are barefoot or have just socks on and no shoes so we can get that full foot stability on the ground. Our weight is evenly distributed across our foot. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other leg. Getting ready here. 3, 2, 1. So for this one, I'm going to demonstrate the kickstand. So same thing, except for now our other foot is helping out with stability. So if you're finding it really difficult to stay steady in that single leg position and you're doing like 2 the whole time, go ahead, drop your toe down. Your toe is in line with either the arch or your heel. You're pushing your hips back. It's the same position as that single leg or as even a 2-leg RDL. Pushing through our heel, standing up, and then go ahead and use your core to bring your leg up. So it's the same thing, but now we're using our other leg for stability. And that can be a great way to work on strengthening our leg to then get to that single leg. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right. Next up, we have our 3 squat pulses into 1 jump or a full squat. 3, 2, 1. So feet are hip width apart here. Your toes can be slightly out if that feels good. And we're coming down into the middle of our squat. So 3 pulses and 1 jump. Or 1 full squat, which I think is what I'm going to be doing because for some reason jumping is not feeling so good today. By some reason, it's probably tailbone related, but that's okay. So 3 pulses, 1 jump. Or a full squat. But the key here is to make sure our whole foot is on the ground. Weight, again, evenly distributed. 3, 2, 1. All right. Next up, last part of round 1, lateral bounds. So starting on one side of your area, jumping to the other side. 3, 2, 1. I should not say jumping because a bound is named a bound because we're jumping from one foot to the other foot. So we are gathering ourselves just like we're about to do that single leg RDL. We are exhaling, jumping, stabilizing, and then back to where we came from. So I want us to fully stabilize. So you're going to jump, you're going to pause, you're going to take that energy we've now stored from landing and use it to jump and land again. So I want us to fully balance before we jump. That's how we prevent any injuries. But we want to sink into our hips. So we're gathering ourselves here. 3, 2, 1. All right, great job. 1 round down, 2 to go. Bent over IYTs are first. 3, 2, 1. So again, getting into our bent over position, we want to tuck our pelvis so our back is flat, our core. We're exhaling through our straw, bringing our ribs down and together, pushing our hips like we're closing a door. I don't know if y'all have noticed the theme, but it's a lot of this hip hinge movement today. So if you are not great at it, this is a great time to practice really sinking into our hips, using our glutes. We don't want to be here and forward. We're going to feel that in our low back. So we push our hips back like we're closing a door behind us. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. And if that hip hinge is not feeling good, again, go ahead and do all of that standing, wherever you're at today. That's what I want you to do. We have L to W to overhead press. 3, 2, 1. So same thing, we come up. L, rotate, W, reach for the overhead press, down and down. So again, the key as we come up, our shoulders are staying away from our ears. So that happens by activating our back. So if we squeeze our armpits, so if you act like you have a piece of paper in between your arm and your body, don't let that paper fall as we move through this motion. So it's going to help strengthen our back, our shoulders and our rotator cuffs. Cannot forget our rotation here. 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. All right, next up, single leg RDL into our knee drive. So picking whichever leg you want to start with. 3, 2, 1. So this is also where you might notice as we're going through this that one of your feet, or one of your sides, I should say, is a little bit more stable than the other side, and that's totally normal. That's really where we can start to work through that by creating or by using that kickstand when we need to. Also on this one, if you are feeling it in your low back, it's most likely because you're coming forward with your chest versus coming back with your hips. I know that looks pretty similar, but when we come forward, we're not getting that bend in our knee. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. So we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Another key here is we don't want to be going all the way to the ground. So 3, 2, 1. As we're doing this, I don't want us to reach for the ground because that, again, is going to bring us forward. It's also going to cause us to go past our hips, and that puts more pressure and tension on our low back. So as you're doing this, we want to reach back with our hips. But if you notice, as soon as my hips are done moving back, I'm coming right up. So we shouldn't be reaching all the way for the ground and coming here, because now our back is out of alignment. We're going to start to feel that in our back versus in our glutes and our hamstrings. So keeping that in mind. So especially if you're doing that kickstand, same thing. My hips are done. I'm done. Coming up. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right, last 2 movements here. 3 pulses to 1 jump or 1 full squat. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right. So feet hip width apart. You can point your toes out a little bit wider if that feels good. 3 pulses and the jump. Oof. Okay. For some reason, my squat positioning is off. We got this. Great job. Keep pushing. Weight, again, evenly distributed across your whole foot. You want to feel that in your glutes and in our quads a little bit as well. 3, 2, 1. All right, last movement, and then we have one more round. Our lateral bounds here. So we want to make sure we do fully stabilize before we head to the other leg. 3, 2, 1. Also, if for this one, especially too, if jumping is not your thing, go ahead and step over to the side without jumping. I still want us to sink into our hip as we land. So when we jump and we land, we can even like jump just a little bit. If you notice, as I'm landing, I'm not standing up straight. So we want to land, gather ourselves into that starting position. So we start and end the same way. It's very similar to our single leg RDL. There's a method to the madness. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right, last round. Coming on up. IYTs bent over here. And again, you can stay standing if that feels better. 3, 2, 1. You can always do this one too, laying flat on the ground. It just makes it a lot more challenging to do that too, but it can help really train your body to use your shoulders and your muscles versus using momentum. So if going, you can lay face down on the ground and just lift your arms up, I, Y, and T. So you're going past your body plane. That feels good. Again, go ahead and do that laying face down on the ground or keeping up with the bent over or with a standing one. So really whatever feels good today. Y'all know I like to mix it up a lot. Things don't always feel the same for me. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. We're done with that. We have bent over L to W to overhead press next. 3, 2, 1. All right. Once again, we can do this bent over or we can do it standing. But I always think it's good to acknowledge that things don't always feel the same. I know for me, Thursdays sometimes are a little bit harder for me because I've done all my training for the week. My outside of work training. I've done my classes. This is my last class I teach during the week. And so sometimes I'm more sore on Thursdays, right? So we got to kind of meet ourselves where we're at and give all we can for what we have on that day. So if you're waking up and you're like, oh, well, I know I should go to class, but I'm super tired and I'm feeling really sore from like yesterday or a different workout, listen to your body, do what feels best for you. 3, 2, 1. I'm always a proponent for rest and recovery if you need it. All right, done with our upper body. We have single leg RDLs with our knee drive. 3, 2, 1. All right, starting with whichever leg we like. Push our hips back, push the ground away. So that's the other one, is making sure not only are we pushing back with our hips, but we're driving our foot into the ground. A lot of times we want to pull up with our upper body versus pushing through the ground. So the goal here with our hips, we push our hips back, so we close the door, and then we push the ground away. So that's how we come back up. So anytime we push our foot into the ground, our glutes are going to get activated, especially if we push our heels through the ground. That's what's going to give us that strength through our hips to then make movement and other forms easier. 3, 2, 1. All right. Other leg, and then we are done with our lower body. Technically, we still have to do our lower body for the squats and our lateral bounds. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to do my kickstand on this one. Inhale back, exhale up. So we want to, if you're ever curious about breathing techniques while we're working out, we want to inhale through our eccentric and exhale through the concentric. So what that means here for the single leg RDL, we inhale as we come back and exhale as we exert ourselves. So anytime we activate our muscle to get through the movement, that's when we want to exhale. So if we're doing squats, it's as we stand up. If we're doing push-ups, as we push our hands to the ground. So any movement like that. 3, 2, 1. All right, great job. We're done with those last 2 movements, and then we are going to cool down on the ground. We have our squats to jump, our pulses and jumps. 3, 2, 1. Okay. I feel like everything, my body feels tight today. But actually, this 3rd round, I feel more opened up than I did the other 2. So that's a good sign. Sometimes when we're tired, when our body feels tight, we don't want to do anything. But the best thing for us is to move, get blood flow to those tight areas, open things up. So if you're ever feeling tired, sore, and unmotivated, just remember you will feel better once we get some movement and blood flow. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right, last movement here, lateral bounce. And then we're going to go ahead and be on the ground on our backs for our cool down. 3, 2, 1. Right, we're coming here. Really stabilizing, landing on our whole foot. That's why I do find it a lot easier to do this kind of stuff like barefoot or in socks, especially if you're at home. If you're not doing things with flat, stable shoes, it can be really helpful to then be able to evenly distribute our weight versus having something like a running shoe that's not fully stable can throw off our balance a little bit. Or if you're like me and your balance is just not that great, sometimes we're even doing everything right and the balance is not there. Like I said, some days are better than others. 3, 2, 1, and that is going to be it for today's circuit. So go ahead and grab some water if you need it. And we're going to go ahead and finish out with some figure 4 on the ground. I'm going to see if I can even do this. Laying fully on my back after my tailbone injury has not been fun. So we're going to try this. So we're laying flat on the ground on our backs. We're going to take one ankle, we're crossing it over the opposite knee. And if that tension feels good, you can stay there, or you can go ahead and interlace your finger, grabbing either in the middle of your hamstring or in front of your shin and pulling your knee towards your chest. We're going to do a few deep breaths here. Inhaling through our nose into our bellies. And exhaling, sighing away our tension, really feeling our muscles relax here. And let's go ahead and do one more breath here. And as we finish our exhale, we can go ahead and gently bring both our feet back to the ground. I'm not going to fully do that because it hurts. So when you're ready, we're going to do the other ankle over the other knee. And if that tension feels good, go ahead and stay there. Or you can go ahead and interlace your fingers in the middle of your hamstring or in front of your shin, and then pulling your knee towards your chest. Again, really feeling your body relax as you exhale. Let's go ahead and do one more breath. And as we finish our exhale, we can go ahead and gently bring both our feet to the ground. And feel free to stay laying on your back or seated, kneeling, standing position, whatever feels good. But that is going to be all the time we have for today. So I hope you guys all enjoyed that. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I hope y'all have a great weekend. And then I will be off next week. So Renee will be subbing my Wednesday and Thursday classes for me so that I'll see y'all the week after that for more classes. But I hope y'all have a great day.